So yeah, I moved here and I was like, try to avoid the French. But then I was like, that's not fair. I mean, if I meet a French person and I really click on with that person, I wouldn't be like racist and say, "Oh,
Like, boy, bye.
from the same country, I won't talk to you."
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening. I'm Sam Ellie, and welcome to Lonely Heroes, the very first episode of Lonely Heroes. This basically talks to people who have moved from abroad to the UK, and essentially they are the bravest people, in my opinion. So I wanted to talk to my first guest, Ahmed, who has been in the UK for about 4 years, to sort of ask him about his time in London, the do's, the don'ts, the faves, the not so faves. Yeah, Ahmed, what do you love about living in London versus what do you really, really hate?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I always loved London, like since I would say I read Harry Potter. I
How old
don't
were
know
you when you
why.
read Harry Potter?
I don't know, maybe 12, 13. I've always been obsessed by the British, so coming to London was like a dream to me, and I knew I would do it at some point in my life. I love the diversity in London. It's so cosmopolitan, like people are from all around the world, and it's easy to find people from your country. What I don't like about London,
What you hate? We're going to go full throttle right from
hate.
the beginning.
That's a bit dramatic to me.
Just
Uh,
very, very dramatic. You're,
what I
you're too
hate.
French to understand it, I imagine.
I think the busyness of London now, I feel that it can be a bit overwhelming. I moved to London before COVID, so 2019, and during COVID, like it was very quiet and it was so enjoyable. And then after the pandemic, it felt like people came back, but multiplied by three, and sometimes it's very overwhelming on the tube, on the street. I'm saying that, but it might be true for every big city in the world.
I was going to
Paris,
say, coming from the land of the croissant and not just metro strikes, but just strikes in general,
yeah,
today there was a train strike. And that
yeah,
happens to you quite a bit living outside of London.
yeah. Like I live like maybe 40 minutes from London, like in the outskirts, and yeah, it's true that like the strikes and everything make things difficult to navigate. But I think the transport is pretty good if I compare it to France. But yeah, like the busyness is very overwhelming, but then it's very personal. I guess some people love when it's very crowded and stuff, but
I quite like it. I kind of like feeling a bit suffocated by body heat.
wow.
That was too much too soon, I think. So you might not actually remember this, but if you do, that'd be great. The first kind of person who you remember being actually friendly to you in this strange new city. Do you remember a first person or something very early on?
My landlord, actually, when I moved here, I was sharing with like five other people for different background as well, and I didn't have a job, so I my landlord really trusted me, saying I can give you a chance and like give you the room
He
in the
gave
house.
you
Yeah.
he without having a job.
No.
Wow.
So, but I
Okay.
had to pay 3 months in advance, so it's not free.
Oh.
I said to him that I wanted to find a job here, but I needed to move to the UK for that, and so he was really understanding of my situation, and he gave me that room. And also because I was looking for a job during the day and I didn't know anyone in the evening, so he would like take me in a pub and like have few points and like have a meal, and he was so friendly to me. Like
My
he
God.
could he could have just like give me the room and just leave me there, but he really tried to make me integrate to the people here. And yeah, I feel like it was a good start of my journey in the UK.
Yeah, because I imagine you had a sort of a stereotype as to what Londoners might be like. Has that sort of been refuted by you coming here? Like, what did you think of Londoners versus when you met them? You know, is there a difference?
So I felt like in my mind I was like, oh my god, London's gonna be like Paris. People don't have time
Mm.
for like, okay, you're struggling to settle in, but it's your problem. I mean, I don't have time to deal with it. So I thought that people would understand, but not really help. And I was totally wrong because people were really concerned about like how I would settle, and I felt like it really made me want to stay here, like because For me, moving here was like a test. I was like, okay, if I like it for a few months, then I will see if I can stay longer. But then when I moved here and I had this response from the people, I was like, oh, actually, it feels really good to live here, and I would love to have a longer experience in the country.
Bit of a disclaimer: no London tourist group is sponsoring this video. I know he's being very
Not yet.
positive about about London. It's all true. On the topic of, I mean, as obviously this series is called Lonely Heroes. On the topic of loneliness in the big city, let's just say, what gets you out of that kind of fun? Is there something that you do to make yourself feel better? Is there a place that you go?
So loneliness, it's true. Like when you moved here and you don't know many people, can be overwhelmed by the situation and like question everything. So first of all, it's important to go out, and my motto is like always say yes. Like except
Always.
yeah, except like if people say like let's go and murder some
Oh,
kitties or stuff like that. But
okay.
no, but if you have an occasion to go out and meet new people, just say yes. You have nothing to lose. You're here to experience new things. Like if you don't click with them, like it's fine. I mean, at least you have nothing to lose. I think that's the most important. So when I first moved here, like people would say, "Oh, there is an after work. Do you want to come?" Or there is like an event here. I would always say yes, no matter what. Even if like I would struggle to commute or anything like that, I would go because I think these are like the occasions that you need to take in your life. So I would like mainly go to events, like because London has so much to offer in terms of culture, of the like artists like coming like when they come to Europe, they mainly come to the UK to London. There is also apps that you can download when you can meet up like with people who are in the same situation as you, who wants to meet new people and just do activities and stuff you have in common with them, like hobbies you have in common with them. Book clubs, I think book clubs are really good.
If you can read,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank God I like reading. Book club can be a really good occasion to meet people, and also sports, I guess. If
If
you
you're
join,
into that, I
yeah,
don't know.
if you join like a football team or like tennis or whatever, I think that can be a nice way to get out of that loneliness that
Mm.
the moving can provide
Le
sometimes.
funk, as they
Yeah,
say in French, don't they? I
yeah,
don't know.
they do.
Do they? Oh, right.
Le fun, yeah.
So, in terms of, I think you briefly touched upon this earlier, but like the kind of mix of people that you found yourself becoming friends with, is it a mix, or is it mostly French, mostly English, mostly, well, the metropolitan that is London? Tell us.
So when I moved here, in my head, I was like, oh my God, I need to not try to make French friends because I'm like, I moved to the UK is to really be with the British. And in a way, I'm like, well, London is not the best way to meet British people because it's so diverse that, it's quite difficult to find like English that are 100% English, but that's true now, right? Like I met a lot of Irish people, a lot of Scottish
And
people,
they are
and
definitely not English. Let me tell
yeah,
you that. They'll be offended if you
yeah,
ask them,
that's true.
if you say you're English. Like,
That's
no, I'm
pretty
not.
true.
I'm
But
Irish.
I moved here and I was like, try to avoid the French. But then I was like, that's not fair. I mean, if I meet a French person and I really click on with that person, I wouldn't be like racist and say, oh,
Like, boy, bye.
from the same country, I won't talk to you. Actually, I don't know. In my journey here, I didn't meet many French that I really wanted to keep as close friends. Many people from like my previous jobs, I stayed friend with, and I have only one French friend that was with me in secondary school. So
And are they mostly English people, or is
yeah,
it? Oh,
yeah,
really?
mostly English,
Oh,
which and Australian.
okay.
So and you, I mean,
Me?
you
No, yes, I'm pretty much pretty
pretty much
English.
English,
Pretty
yeah,
English.
very English.
Yeah. Ça dépend. But yeah, in terms of like advice as well, because I know people are obviously, on the cusp of wanting to move here or move to a different country. What advice would you give them?
Be prepared and don't overthink. Like, come here, take risks. When I before moving to the UK, I didn't like my job. I was working in Luxembourg. I was doing like a 40 hours a week, and I hated it. So
Quite frankly, you
and
hated it.
yeah, but I was overthinking about the fact that I was moving to the unknown, and yeah, not knowing what would become of my future. And I think that sometimes in life you just need to go for it and take the risk, and if it doesn't happen, then you can come back to where you're from, and like that's like the philosophy I would take. But then I understand also that you need a bit of money, a bit of savings, because obviously you will have to live without a job for a few months. But yeah, that's my first advice, sorry. And yeah, meet as many people as you can, because this is how you can also create new opportunities.
Yes, quite right. Just kind of like backpedaling it to a little more kind of like candid moments that you might have had here. Do you remember? do, do you remember sort of any?
I mean, many. Like the first week I moved in, I was in a pub, and the barman asked me if I wanted cash back, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, okay. So in my head, I was like, oh, he wanted tips or something like that. So I was
Right.
like, okay, £2. And then he was like, what? £2? And then I
Is
was,
cashback not a thing in
no,
France?
no, it's just not a thing. I mean,
Uh.
I thought he asked for a tip. I was like, I found it really weird. I was like, oh, I thought it was in the US, but not in the UK. And then my landlord just laughed and he's like, "Oh my god, you don't know what's cashback?" And then explained me, it's basically you paid a bit more, so they give you back the if you need any change for
Yeah, I
whatever
know what that
reason.
is.
Yeah, but
But I'm glad that you've learnt it.
imagine if there is some Frenchies who
Who
watch that
don't
video.
know?
Yeah,
Who don't know what cashback is?
so I would say that's my first awkward moment, and the second one is like the first time I driven in the UK. Once again, with my landlord, he was pretty drunk and he could not drive back the van he was
Mm.
he had in a car park, and he asked me if I could drive back. The thing is, I never driven a van, and it was pitch black, and yeah, just a
And there's
nightmare.
that right side of the road thing that
Yeah,
you
oh my
have
god,
in France
I
that's
got
ridiculous.
traumatized. I was traumatized, and I like driving when I'm in Europe, in France, etc. But in the UK, I just don't know. It feels so.
Do you drive here or no?
No, not really.
Oh,
I
okay.
felt like it's so out of my control.
Driving on the left side of the road.
Yeah.
In terms of like a message for Londoners, actually, if we could sort of make things easier for people, when
Mhm.
they're sort of looking to move here, what would you kind of say that we can do to help?
I think Londoners are pretty good already, like to welcome foreigners. I
Let it
guess
get to our head.
my main advice, I would say, to be patient, because people who moved here sometimes they need some time to settle in, and also the language. You need to understand, like, it's not their native language, so sometimes there can be a gap in your understanding with them. So just be patient. Most of British people don't speak a second language, so it's a skill. So and you know that because you speak three languages. So
Well,
um,
thank you.
just be patient about people who move here and learn the language as well. I think it's pretty it, because I think Londoners are quite good at welcoming people, and the Frenchies are. There's so many Frenchies in the UK. It's crazy. Like in London.
God, yeah, I can imagine you weren't able to get away.
Yeah, it's not like I'm the first Frenchie who moved here, so I mean,
No, you're
they
not
might
that
be,
old. It's
yeah,
fine.
they might be used to it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of it, really. I'm
Oh,
very bad at
oh my
goodbyes.
God, it went so quick.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was just kind of the basis of wanting people to get an idea of someone that is close to me who has kind of, you've come from the middle of nowhere, France, basically, and you're making it in London. And I don't know that everybody's situation is as lucky as yours. So yeah, it was good to sort of sit and chat.
Thank you
Next
for
time, I have
having me.
no idea who my next guest is. It might be my Australian friend. It might be, you said you had a friend who who's just moved here 3 months,
Yeah,
and would be great to sort of have a little chat with her.
yeah, from California. So yeah, same language,
Oh,
but
same language. Oh,
different
yeah.
continent.
Still brave.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll be signing off.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.